I uncovered 3 terrifying true summer horror stories that will haunt your nights. I never should have opened that door. It was a simple decision, yet it spiraled into a nightmare I can barely recount. My hands trembled as I gripped the handle, the metal cold and unyielding beneath my palm. The summer sun shone brightly outside, oblivious to the darkness that lingered just a breath away. Every day, I followed the same routine. Wake up, eat breakfast, head to the library. Books were my escape. They offered comfort and adventure. But that day, something was off. It was as if the whispers of the pages had turned into eerie murmurs, echoing secrets I wasn't meant to hear. Shadows danced along the walls, fleeting silhouettes that made my heart race. The moment I turned the corner, a chill washed over me. The air thickened, laced with a scent that was almost metallic. A low creaking sound sent shivers crawling up my spine. I paused, listening. Just a trick of the mind, I convinced myself. But then there it was again, a soft rustling, the unmistakable sound of paper brushing against paper. With each step, the tension grew. Flickering lights cast sporadic beams of illumination on shelves lined with books. I could feel the hair on my arms standing up, each whisper more insistent than the last. As I approached the door that led to the basement, a place I had always avoided, cold dread seeped into my gut. I glanced behind me, half expecting someone to follow. Nothing but shadows. But something nudged my curiosity. What was behind that door? The pull was irresistible, like a moth to a flame. My heart battered against my ribs as I reached for the handle. The door creaked open, revealing inky darkness beyond. A sudden gust of air rushed past me, cold and biting. I froze, caught in that moment. And then I heard it, a voice, faint but clear. "Help me," it pleaded, drawing me in. My breath hitched as I peered into the black void. A shape flickered at the bottom of the stairs, just a hint of movement. My instincts screamed at me to run, to bolt back to the safety of the light, but curiosity chained my feet that I stepped closer, every heartbeat resonating in my ears. The whispers grew louder, a symphony of urgency. But the darkness swallowed any sense of safety. And then, silence. I strained to hear anything, my pulse echoing in the stillness. Before I could turn away, the figure materialized, a shadow cloaked in despair. And just as quickly as it appeared, the door slammed shut behind me, leaving me in freezing darkness. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The instant the door clanged shut, darkness engulfed me, thick like velvet, smothering every semblance of light. Panic surged through my veins, a primal scream clawing at my throat. I reached back for the handle instinctively, but it remained unyielding, as if the door had fused into the wall itself. My breath quickened, echoing in the silence, a reminder that I was utterly alone in this oppressive void. "Help me." The whisper came again, barely a breath against the suffocating silence, but it carried a weight that pressed down on my chest. It felt alive, pleading, desperate. My heart thudded loudly, pounding in anxious rhythm as I strained to catch the source. Tentatively, I stepped down into the basement, the wooden stairs creaking underfoot, each groan of the old structure sounding like a warning. The air grew even colder, seeping through my clothes into my bones. I wondered how long that voice had been calling, echoing through these lonely walls. "Where are you?" I called, my voice quavering, swallowed almost instantly by the dark. There was no response, only the nagging fear that whatever haunted this place was not welcoming company. I turned slowly, trying to let my eyes adjust to the darkness. The faint outline of bookshelves loomed in the corners, laden with dust and the weight of their own secrets, and I could sense a presence flickering in the dim shadows between them. My hand brushed against a shelf, the spines of books feeling slick and damp under my fingertips. A shudder paralyzed me for a moment as I recalled the whispers, the stories of souls trapped within their own narratives, bound forever to the tales they dewoven. And then I froze, the whisper morphing into something softer, more sinister, yet familiar, almost as if the shadows were replaying a memory deep within my mind. "You're too late," it murmured, and the sound sent a jolt down my spine, a cold realization creeping in. I was not the first to respond to that haunting call. Before I could steady my nerves, I turned abruptly, feeling like I was being watched, and came face to face with the figure that it hovered, barely defined, a wisp of shadow cloaked in the echo of my fears. Its features were indistinct: no eyes, no mouth, just a formless void staring back at me. A shivering realization coursed through me: it wasn't he, just a figment of my imagination. This entity, whatever it was, held a knowledge I couldn't comprehend. "Have you come to take my place?" It hissed, words thick with anguish and rage. A rush of cold air whipped around me, swirling with an unseen force, and I staggered back, panic blooming within. I wanted to scream, to run back up the stairs, but my feet were petrified against the floorboards, each heartbeat a thunderous reminder that escape was not a choice in this hellish realm. "Take your place," I gasped, struggling to find my voice. "What do you mean?" Then it moved closer, an inexplicable force that drew me in despite the swirling tide of terror within. My mind raced with images of the stories from the library, the tales of despair and unfinished relationships. Were these voices of the lost souls trapped here, entwined in sorrow? "I am the keeper of their story," the figure whispered, and as it did, shadows spiraled around it, coalescing into fragile forms of despair: a woman, a child, a man. They flitted through the air like wisps of smoke, haunted and sorrowful, each echo burdened with an untold tale that lingered like a curse. I stumbled back, my breath hitching. "No, please, let me out. I can't be part of this," I cried, every nerve in my body screaming for me to flee. The figure stretched its hand, a dark, claw-like appendage pointing to the shelves behind me. As if compelled by an invisible string, I turned my gaze to the books they guarded, their titles morphed into ominous phrases. "The Child of the Abyss," "The Whispering Sorrow," "The Last Confession." Each name hung like a noose in the air, a chilling reminder of the stories yet to be told. "Choose," it hissed, and the walls seemed to throb, pulsing with a malevolent energy. "Choose a story, or forever remain a footnote in this darkness." Heart racing, I faced the rows of books, panic gripping me. My eyes darted from one spine to another, each encased in shadows, every tale a potential trap. The whispers melded into a cacophony, urging me to select, to yield to the darkness within. I felt a new presence, colder than the air. It wrapped around my throat, tightening like a vice, and then I heard it. The softest melody, almost drowned out by the chaos around me, but hauntingly beautiful amidst the horror. "Help me." The words rippled through me once more, a haunting echo between worlds, pulling me deeper into the night. I froze, paralyzed, grappling with the decision that could doom me or set me free. But in that moment everything went black. As the blackness consumed me, I felt a violent tremor ripple through my body, like being yanked from the clutches of my own consciousness. It collapsed and reformed like liquid shadows, dragging me into a realm that twisted reality into grotesque shapes. My pulse thundered in my ears as I was thrust into a space where time didn't flow, where shadows wrapped around me like a suffocating blanket, holding me hostage in a fear-infused purgatory. When the darkness began to recede, I found myself standing at the edge of an endless foggy expanse. The ground beneath me was solid, compacted earth coated in a thin layer of frost. A penetrating silence enveloped the space, broken only by the quiet rustling of something just out of view. The air was thick and laced with an unseen dread, a whispering reminder of my reality. My skin prickled with the awareness that I was not alone. "Turn back," the voice was hauntingly familiar, as if echoing from every corner of my mind. I spun around, searching for its source, heart racing. "Please, turn back," it coaxed, the tone imbued with a palpable urgency that froze my blood. The fog began to swirl around me, coiling in sinister patterns while figures began to materialize, emerging like specters from the shadows. They moved with an elegiac fluidity, their expressions wistful yet tormented, trapped between the world I knew and this desolate void. Amongst them, a child stood out, her small frame shivering, thick dark hair hanging in matted strands around her face. Her eyes wide and glassy sought refuge in mine. "Help us before it's too late," she whispered, words laced with a horror that made my heart twist. She extended her hand, fingers trembling. A surge of desperation roared through me, cutting through the oppressive weight of the empty landscape. What were these tortured souls? A chill slithered up my spine as the realization dawned upon me. They were lost, just like the murmurs I had heard before, just like the voices beckoning from the bookshelves. "Where are we?" I managed to stammer, my throat dry and tight. "What happened to you?" The child's features flickered, a painful reminder that not all things were meant to be understood. "The keeper keeps us here," she said, her voice cracking. "He feeds on our despair, writing our stories only he can end. We are the pages lost behind the covers." The figures swayed, and a low, guttural growl echoed from the fog, an unsettling reminder that something sinister lurked in the unseen depths. I turned back to the child, my heart aching for her plight, a small flame flickering amongst the enveloping darkness. "What can I do?" I urged, taking a hesitant step toward her. Her expression morphed into one of intense sadness. "You must choose one of us, but know there is no guarantee you will escape. We feed on hope and despair." Before I could respond, a thunderous roar erupted from the fog, shaking the ground beneath my feet. Tendrils of darkness burst forth, slithering and undulating like snakes, seeking to ensnare me. Shadows twisted into monstrous forms, revealing features that looked eerily familiar, faces from the books, each trapped with endured agony that they could not escape. That I stumbled back, horrified as the child said, "You must decide quickly. The keeper is coming." In that moment of confusion, my instincts screamed for escape. I couldn't choose, couldn't fathom giving in to any of these lost souls. The figures began to swirl around me, each desperate plea escalating until it morphed into a cacophony that clawed at my sanity. "Help us. Save us. We cannot be forgotten." Their voices melded into one, a haunting melody designed to lure me into their tragic binding. Suddenly, a cold hand clamped around my wrist, the grip tight and unyielding. I turned, and there stood the shadowy figure, its amorphous form pulsating with dark energy, consuming the light around it. "You've lingered too long," it hissed, voice a tapestry of despair. "Choose now, before you become part of their chilling tale." With the figures encroaching closer, the howling wind carrying their cries became a frenzied noise in my ears. I could feel the ground tremble beneath me as the entity gripped me tighter, pulling me toward its swirling darkness. "Choose one," it insisted, sharp nails digging deeper into my skin like jagged blades. In that moment of terror, I felt my breath hitch, my world spinning out of control. There was no hesitation left. This was the moment that could seal my fate, and as the flames of darkness flickered and lashed around me, I tried to utter a name. But before the words escaped my lips, the spectre's eyes intensified, and the world around me began to collapse into a spiraling vortex of memories, whispers, and shouts. I gasped for air, struggling against the tightening grip, feeling reality twisting into nothingness, leaving only the agonizing thought, had I made my choice? And then, amid the chaos, came a chilling realization. The keeper's laughter echoed through it all, resonating deep within me as the darkness consumed everything around. As I vanished into the void, I understood that this was only the beginning of my unending horror, where the stories never truly ended. The silence that followed was deafening, and I could do nothing but wait for what came next, dread twisting tighter around me. I only had to hope it wasn't too late. The horror of silence wrapped around me like a cloak, an agonizing stillness that hung heavy in the air, pregnant with anticipation. I gasped, lungs burning for the crispness of open air that had been stolen from me. But there was nothing, only the weight of incomprehensible dread. Moments stretched into eternity, a heartbeat echoing in the confines of the void, when suddenly, the silence shattered. Fingers emerged from the darkness, skeletal and warped, clawing at the air as if to pierce through the fabric of reality itself. They reached for me, yearning, pleading. "We are here," they hissed in unison, their voices dissonant yet harmoniously eerie. "You are one of us now." I recoiled instinctively, memories dancing just out of reach, a kaleidoscope of laughter, joy, and warmth. But they were quickly tinged with panic. The unreal atmosphere surrounding me constricted tightly, making my heart race as the fingers curled into gnarled hands, beckoning me deeper into shadow. "Save us, child of flesh," a voice murmured seductively, words curling around my mind like a fog that muddled my thoughts. "You'll never escape. You'll never be free." It was mesmerizing and terrifying, a siren's song that resonated from the deepest caverns of despair. The ground beneath me trembled, fissures spawning from the darkness as fractured memories shot through my mind, each with a face I had long denied. The Keeper's laughter swirled through the cracks, tauntingly familiar. I struggled against the invisible chains, aching to remain anchored to my humanity, but it threatened to fragment my soul, splintered by the weight of countless existences consumed by the inscrutable darkness. Suddenly, the realization I had witnessed, moments earlier, crashed into me like a wave, dragging me into the depths of an ocean that knew no shore. I remembered the child's eyes, the weight of her plea, and how she had looked like the girl I had once been, innocent and unburdened. The gravity of choice hung over me, the horrible weight of responsibility intertwining with my very essence. Dread seeped into my bones as I scanned the murky landscape of this realm. The figures were now mere shadows, skeletal outlines of tortured souls stretching across the fog, drooping with despair. I could almost hear echoes of laughter twisted into cries of horror, perforating the thick silence that now enveloped me. "Join us," the shadows whispered, swirling closer, their breath frigid against my skin. "You will understand us. You will feel the Keeper's pain and his joy." They hovered just at the edge of my vision, each one a glimpse into another life, a page of their story flicking in and out of existence like an ancient book desperately trying to close and yet remaining open, yearning. "Leave me alone," I shouted, the words escaping my lips like a desperate prayer. But my voice was swallowed whole by the encroaching dark. Just then, a chilling realization adorned my horror: these were not merely lost souls whispering from the shadows. These were echoes of those who had ventured before me, beacons of hope that had been extinguished by the Keeper's insatiable hunger. Hope. I gasped, fear creeping into my veins. What hope remains here, but suffocation and despair? A figure stepped forward, one cloaked in the darkest fabric of this realm, merging and separating from the shadows like ink spilling across paper. "The Keeper's ink flows endless," it hissed, voice sickly sweet. "And those who refuse to believe become vessels of anguish. Defy him, and you become part of his eternal script." An idea began to take shape in my mind, wild and reckless. Perhaps I could turn the Keeper's twisted narrative against him. If I refused to play his game, could I fracture the binding he held over these lost souls? I could feel the intensity of their gaze running through me, desperation washing over my body like a wave mingled with inevitability. Spinning within the vortex, I reached for the child again, the glimmer of innocence strangled by darkness. "We can resist him together. You just have to." But before I could finish, the veil of shadow thickened. A sharp, serrated wail erupted from the depths of the darkness, echoing and reverberating as though the Keeper was angry, seething, frantic. "You dare defy me?" The voice was a storm, thrumming in my chest, causing my heart to leap violently as it split the fog like lightning through a tempest. "You'll pay a price," the Keeper declared, a sinister promise laden with malice. The very air grew icy around me, each breath becoming heavier, as the shadows shrieked in agony, their whispered cries mixing in a cacophony of hopelessness. I found myself shaking, desperate to return to sanity, to the remnants of a life I barely remembered. Panic clawed at the edges of my resolve. "Choose now." The horde of figures cried as darkness bled into blinding light, shifting beyond the clouds of despair. Their faces morphed, no longer the lost souls I had yearned to free but cruel reflections of my own agony blaring back at me. Will you surrender to the Keeper or resist and face an eternity with us? The essence of their words struck deep, churning in my gut as uncertainty gripped my throat. The shadows coalesced, fabricating a horrid scene beneath my feet, each lost memory crystallizing into a choice yet to be made. I felt the essence of despair wash over me as the weight of their collective suffering bore down on my shoulders. In one haunting instant, I knew, the Keeper was coming for me, but I held the last thread, the flimsy hope of defying his grip. Just as I steeled my gaze, the darkness pulsated violently, and the shadows exploded outward like fire breaking against glass, blistering against my skin. I realized with horror that the swirling mass had coiled around me like a serpent ready to strike, and then the fog parted, revealing another figure, a mirror image of the very essence of me, vacant and hollow, eyes darkened to the sunken abyss. It grinned, jagged teeth gleaming in the spectral light, but then began to speak in my own voice, distorted yet unsettlingly sweet. You think you can choose? Choose me, love. Together, we can write a new fate. Before I could respond, everything collapsed into a swirling vortex once more. With a guttural scream of fear, I felt the ground beneath me vanish as I plummeted into a deeper darkness, knowing the Keeper's arms were waiting to embrace me. As reality slipped away, I braced myself for the unimaginable. My true choice was yet to unfold, and the question lingered unanswered: was I the savior, or was I to become the next story lost in the pages of inevitable despair? I awoke suspended in an abyss where the darkness was thick enough to drown in, permeated only by the chilling echoes of whispers that slithered through the void like cold tendrils of smoke. They wrapped around my mind, twisting familiar fears into nightmarish forms as I wrestled with the memory of what had just happened. The figure, that mirror image of myself, promising a new fate. My heart thundered, each beat a testament to the juxtaposition between hope and terror, that I was not alone here. The shadows caressed my skin, leaving behind frostbite that danced through my veins as the whispers intensified, weaving tales of torment. You will never escape, they taunted. You belong to us now. Suddenly, the darkness shifted, morphing into flickering images that flared like dying stars. Each scene I glimpsed was a surreal mosaic of despair: a man screaming as nails were driven into his hands, a woman clutching her child, the blood drained from her face as shadows devoured her alive. My breath quickened, the air thickening with the smell of rot and sorrow. Join us, a voice crooned, soft and seductive, pulling me towards an unsettling warmth that surged from the depths of the abyss. A glowing orb pulsated in the corner of my vision, beckoning me like a moth to a flame. I hesitated but was drawn nearer, compelled by a relentless curiosity. As I reached out, a hand grasped my wrist, claw-like yet pulsating with an unholy energy. I jerked back, my heart racing in horror as I recognized the owner of the hand, a figure emerging from the shadows, cloaked in a tattered garment woven from the darkness itself. Its eyes shimmered with an unearthly light, revealing a deep well of anguish. You think you can resist him? You cannot, it hissed. You are already part of his tale. No, I whimpered, backing away yet unable to tear my gaze from the creature. I can find a way. The very thought sent ripples of panic through me. Where had hope gone? The figure tilted its head, curiosity mingling with malice. Hope. Hope is a fleeting dream, a cosmic joke played on fools, it whispered with a chilling lullaby. You seek answers, little one, but answers come at a cost. Before I could comprehend, the shadows erupted, swirling violently, screeching like banshees released from their eternal prison. Surrender. They wailed in a haunting chorus, drowning out my thoughts. The very ground trembled beneath me, cracks wrenching apart the fabric of my existence as if the Keeper himself sought to reclaim his dominion. That I was surrounded, an unfathomable void beckoning me closer. Trawling through the forgotten memories, I caught glimpses of moments distorted by anguish, each replayed in rapid succession until I stumbled upon a memory I feared most, a day bathed in sorrow when I lost everything I loved. Do you see? The cloaked figure advanced, voice now thunderous in its intensity. Your choices led you here, each step drawing you closer to this abyss. The shadows raised their hands in unison, and in an instant, I was engulfed in the memories. The cries and laughter morphed into screams of despair, drowning me as I clawed at the intangible fabric of my reality. I gasped for breath yet found none. Instead, visions blurred as they tumbled over each other, horror mingling with nostalgia. "Save them," the figure urged, a wicked grin spreading across its face. "Save them if you dare." Suddenly, the vision shifted again. I found myself standing in my childhood home, the walls familiar yet marred by time. Everything felt wrong, the air stale and pregnant with memories too painful to confront. As I roamed, an eerie stillness veiled the atmosphere, a stillness that rippled with past horrors I had buried beneath layers of denial. "Mom!" I called out, my voice trembling. "Dad?" I stepped further into the heart of the home, only to be met by a reflection in an old, cracked mirror. I was no longer alone. The girl I once was stared back at me, tears etched into her youthful face, anguish hanging heavily over her like a shroud. She reached out, her hand trembling, just as I had done moments ago. "Help me!" she wailed, her voice a desperate plea that echoed in the recesses of my mind. "I'm trapped. We both are." Before I could respond, the shadows flared, enveloping the room in a suffocating gloom. I could feel the keeper's presence, like thunder rumbling in the distance, echoing closer with every desperate heartbeat. The reflection of my past self called out in agony, her voice shredding my sanity. "You must choose. Save yourself, or save me." Their anguished cries reverberated through the room, twisting reality until I was breathless from the pressure mounting in my chest. How could I choose? The thought of leaving her behind, leaving that innocence trapped, was more soul-crushing than the darkness looming over me. The shadows flickered, and the ground quaked. "Make your decision," boomed a voice, as if carved from the very stones of the abyss. I knew the keeper was watching, waiting for my failure, suffering, ready to claim me if I faltered. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of both futures pressing against me like crushing stone. In that moment of paralysis, the air shifted. A chorus of desperate screams crescendoed, morphing into a single haunting whisper, "Time is not, make your choice now." Just then, the floor beneath me cracked, a gaping chasm opening as the light grew dimmer. The very fabric of my existence hung by a thread, and I could feel the unmistakable pull of both the shadows and that innocent gaze, both begging for salvation. And then, the ground ruptured, swallowing the mirror and the girl into the depths of darkness, as the shadows closed in around me with agonizing speed. I barely had time to react before a mouth of darkness yawned before me, beckoning while a scream clawed up my throat. A single thought etched into the fabric of my mind: could I truly abandon the girl I had once been? The darkness consumed me, and I vanished into the abyss, understanding too late that my choice, whatever it was, had only begun. The stillness was deafening after the chaos. My consciousness flickered like a dying bulb, casting shadows of doubt and despair across my mind. Suddenly, I found myself in a new realm, an endless forest bathed in twilight, where the air felt thick with an unnatural weight. The gnarled trees twisted upward, their branches clawing at the blood-red sky as if striving to escape the very earth that bore them. Each step I took crunched underfoot, the ground littered with fallen leaves that whispered stories of those who had wandered before, lost souls who had struck unseen bargains in the fading light. A chill breeze slithered through the trees, the echoes of distant laughter sending shivers down my spine as I moved deeper into this alien world. That I stumbled upon a narrow path, bordered by dark stones that felt warm to the touch. The path exuded an alluring pull, promising solace and the possibility of answers. My heart quickened with both fear and longing as I walked, a compulsion to uncover the horrors lurking behind every twist and turn. The whispers grew louder with each step, voices blending into a cacophony of longing and anguish. "You must not stray too far," they cautioned. "He watches and waits, always hungering." My pulse quickened at the thought of the keeper, his presence palpable, like a shadow breathing down my neck. Suddenly, the trees quaked, and I was plunged into an eerie silence. In that stillness, a figure emerged from the shadows, the same cloaked entity, but now with a cruel grin that stretched unnaturally across its face. "The girl you left behind knows not the true depth of despair," it taunted, flicking its wrist as if doggedly weaving a tapestry of doom. "Her cries are but echoes, fading into nothingness. But fear not, I can show you another way. What do you want from me?" I spat, the words laced with desperate defiance. I want to join you. The figure chuckled, a sound dripping with malice that echoed through the forest. Oh, you misunderstand. You have already joined me. You cannot resist what you are destined to become. With a sweep of its hand, the ground quaked beneath me, breaking apart to reveal a swirling pit of shadows. Silhouettes clamored at the edges, wailing for release while snares of dark energy danced like serpents. Bewildered, I stumbled back, only to encounter a wall of burning eyes watching from behind the curtain of branches. Instead of fear, an insidious feeling of familiarity washed over me, a sense of belonging. Look closer, the figure beckoned softly, an obscuring fog rolling in as the lights flickered. The forest melded, whispering secrets drawn from depths of time, showing me visions of myself woven into the fabric of their cries. Reality shifted again, and I was no longer in the forest. I was standing amidst the crumbling remains of a flickering room cluttered with memories, a collage of lost moments scattered in a way that felt hauntingly intimate. Within the wreckage, I saw the hauntingly familiar face of my mother, the anguish in her eyes reflecting both love and an inexplicable sorrow. "Help me, Sarah," she gasped, reaching out to me, her warm voice now frayed by the agony of despair. "You must piece it all back together. You must free us." In her gaze, I felt the weight of countless broken promises, fears reborn along with an unsettling truth: I was the architect of their pain. The shadows whispered secrets, wrapping around my thoughts until I was ensnared in the realization that every choice I made led to this very moment, a moment teetering on the brink of salvation or eternal torment. "Time is a thief," the figure's voice crept around me. "Choose your path wisely, little one." As the memories surged with a ferocity that threatened to engulf me, the figure extended its skeletal hand, an invitation woven with darkness. "All this pain is simply a gateway to strength. Join the dance of shadows, and find your truth. You will be reunited with what you seek." I froze. At that moment, I could see the threads of time unraveling, my past, present, and future twining into an inseparable knot, taunting me to partake in the chaos. With each heartbeat, the choices weighed heavier, dread spiraling through me like a maddening tempest. Then, out of the chaos emerged a shrill scream, a voice piercing through the shadows, a desperate plea that shattered my momentary resolve. "Help me!" It was my own voice, quaking with terror as I realized it was not only my mother. It was her, the girl I once was, her cries entwined, begging for release. The forest roared around me, something ancient stirred within the darkness. It hungered. In that heartbeat, I saw their fates intertwined within the darkness. The very shadows came alive, beckoning me, urging me to succumb to the lingering despair. "Choose." The figure screeched, the air crackling with their energy. I could feel the fabric of reality tremble beneath my feet, splitting open in a black abyss that twinkled with the scars of countless lost souls. Before I could think, the ground shook violently once more. The forest twisted, its roots rising like tendrils as if preparing to drag me below. I could see the reflection of the mirror world in the depths of the void, my guiding light darkening, blending with the shadows fighting for dominion. "Please, don't go." The reflection sobbed, desperation trailing behind like a shroud. With a roar that vibrated through the air, the keeper materialized in the depths, grasping for me as I wailed, two fates colliding, the girl I once was, and the shadows ready to consume the innocence I desperately clung to. Would surrendering to the abyss save them, or would my choice echo into an eternity of solitude and darkness? In that instantly suspended moment, teetering on the edge, a decision loomed ominously overhead like a dark cloud ready to burst, tightening its grip on my heart, trapping me in a nightmare from which I could not awaken. The ground heaved with ferocity, splitting open as if the very earth was retaliating against my conflict. My heart pounded erratically within my chest, each beat an incoherent plea for escape, but there was nowhere left to run. The keeper lingered at the edge of the void, a grotesque silhouette, eyes glinting like shards of obsidian in the pervading gloom. "Every choice has its cost," it hissed, its voice a serpent's whisper curling around my core. "You cannot turn your back on who you are. You are already entangled in this fate, bound to relive the horrors of your past." My breath quickened as I grappled with the swirling mass of fears and regrets clawing at my consciousness. I saw fleeting images, snapshots of laughter turning to screams, love morphing into betrayal. Faces of those I cherished twisted into masks of agony, the air thickening with their unresolved grief, echoing my own. "Face it," the keeper demanded. "What do you fear most? What lies at the heart of your darkness?" The air crackled with energy, snapping like a taut wire, and I felt my thoughts spiral. Was it the guilt? Or the knowledge that I could have done something to save them? As the cavernous void beckoned, my mind betrayed me, prompting shadows of my deepest dread, my inability to shield the innocent from the malevolent forces haunting our lives. The haunting wails rose again, this time accompanied by sounds of cracking wood, as if the forest itself mourned the path I was on. "Help me!" My voice echoed back from the depths, reverberating against the walls of my heart. "Someone, please!" Out of the pulsating darkness, a new presence emerged. It crept forth, slithering against the roots of the trees, a mass of ethereal energy, its form shifting and changing like smoke caught in a vivid sunset. Glimmering crystals formed icy tears that dripped from the branches above, staining the earth with motes of despair. "Do not listen," the figure warned, its voice eternally familiar as if it were a reflection of my own psyche. "You know this is not the way." The keeper twisted, its grin widening ominously, revealing jagged teeth that glimmered like broken glass. "Indeed, the primal urge to save one another can be a double-edged sword. But I shall offer you a choice: embrace your darkness and solidify your power, or resist, and watch your reality dissolve like smoke in the wind." As the words sank in, visions flooded over me. I could see myself standing amidst the shadows, ruling with a wicked dignity, a figure of both terror and allure. Light danced in my eyes, but it paled against the consuming blackness that engulfed my heart. "No!" I screamed, but the enormity of the choice weighed against my resolve. How easily I could gamble everything, and yet, in that temptation lay a truth I could not ignore. "My child," a voice said through the cacophony, soft and dulcet amid the chaos. It was her, my mother, pleading from beyond the layer of shadows as her ethereal form shimmered in and out, flickering like dying embers in a fire. "You can't allow yourself to be lost to this darkness. Fight. You have the power to break this cycle." The keeper recoiled as if struck, an unsettling snarl spilling forth. "You're falling for mere illusions, child. Cast her out, cast them all out." With a fierce surge of defiance, I reached into the depths of my soul, clinging to the remnants of my family's love, their voices intertwining with the shadows, urging me forward. "I refuse to abandon you. I will not bear the burden of this darkness alone. Together, we can break free." My mother echoed, each word a thread stitching the torn fragments of my heart. "But you must seize your strength. You are not what they made you to be." But just as clarity pierced through the haze, so did an icy claw extend from the void, a malevolent force that encircled me, pulling me toward the chasm of despair. The keeper inched closer, the air vaporous with malice, its smile a void where light dared not penetrate. That in that final moment of impending doom, I felt the ground shift violently again. "No!" I screamed, fighting against the relentless pull, but the abyss churned, its darkness alive with the screams of lost souls. And then, a roar erupted from the depths, an explosion of pure, raw energy. The very fabric of the forest rumbled ominously as a blinding light pierced through the relentless gloom. Suddenly, the world around me shattered, fracturing like glass. A blinding white enveloped me, and then silence. I blinked into the void, feeling an unseen force grate against my skin, a new environment swirling into focus, a room confined by shadows, adorned with fragments of my own memories. In an instant, I was back in the tangled remnants of time, a child again, standing at the precipice of innocence, the door looming ahead, yet as I reached for the handle, dread wrapped around my heart. The faintest whisper glided through the air, faint and alluring, "Join us," it beckoned knowingly. Before I could comprehend, the door swung open, and silence turned to torment. There, standing among ghosts entwined in agony, was my daughter, a reflection of my past, wide-eyed and lost. "Mommy?" And then, the shadows lunged forward, hungry for reclamation. The shadows enveloped my daughter, wrapping around her like black silk, tugging at the corners of her frightened form. In that moment, time warped, the world outside the room faded, and I was trapped in a dissonance between childhood innocence and maternal despair. "Mommy, help me!" she cried, her voice imbued with a tremor of desperation that echoed in the hollow spaces of my heart. Her wide, terrified eyes searched mine, and I felt the expanse of my soul stretching thin like a fragile thread about to snap. "Hold on!" I shouted, lungs filled with desperation. I fought against the encroaching shadows, surging forward, desperate to shield her from the darkness that threatened to swallow both of us whole, but the keeper was here, its essence saturating the air, thick and cloying. It laughed softly, a guileful melody that tugged at my reveled thoughts. "Did you really think you could escape? The child is a part of this fate, just as you are. Darkness knows no bounds, and there is no refuge to be found." I lunged toward my daughter, my arms outstretched, but the shadows twined around her, clawing at her spirit with long, imperceptible fingers. Each grasp resonated like the heartbeat of a monster, thrumming through the very core of my existence. "Why?" I pleaded to the keeper, a desperate attempt to unravel the grotesque truth hidden within that twisted smile. What darkness have I brought upon her? The faces of those I had loved flickered through my mind, their tortured gazes locking onto me in relentless accusation. "Your choices brought her here," the keeper hissed, eyes shimmering like the abyss, reflecting a malevolence that seeped into my bones. "Every moment you chose fear over courage, every instant you turned your back on your past. You have fed the shadows." Suddenly, the walls of the room quaked, pulsating with an energy that felt alive, writhing against the very fabric of reality. The ghosts around me began to whisper, their voices harmonizing into a haunting symphony of sorrow and rage. "We are all here because of you," they chanted, a chorus of grief that swirled like a tempest. "No. I will save her!" I screamed. I reached again for my daughter, the intensity of love radiating from my every fiber, cutting through the darkness like the last glimmer of a dying star. Then I felt it an echo in the shadows. The voices of children, long forgotten yet achingly familiar, surrounded me. "Mommy," my head spun as shards of memory sliced through the haze. I saw faces of my past, playful laughter twisted into cries of anguish, an innocent gaze turning lifeless in the wake of despair. Every smile I had nurtured was feasting beneath the shadows, the weight of my failures anchored me against the wall of rage and despair. "Join us." The shadows beckoned again, their allure creeping into the chasms of my will. But I wouldn't allow them to consume my child. With a fierce cry that burst forth like a dam breaking, I surged forward, weaving through the thick malevolence gripping my daughter. The shadows thrashed around us, swirling with fury, and as I reached her, our fingers intertwined, I felt a warmth ignite between us, a flicker of light amidst encroaching darkness. "Mommy, I'm scared," she whimpered, tears of pure terror glimmering in her gaze, but her hands wrapped around mine with a bond that transcended the malevolence. "They want you," I breathed, struggling against the rising tide of despair, clutching her hand like a lifeline. "But they want to have you." The shadows shrieked, an unfathomable howl that reverberated through the air like the wails of tormented souls. The keeper's face contorted with rage, transforming into a being of pure chaos, teeth gnashing, eyes wide with the hunger of eternity. "You defy me? You think it's simple to abandon your darkness? It is within you, and it will never leave." With every ounce of my being, I propelled us backward, my will a force that pushed against the unrelenting shadows. But they roared in defiance, black tendrils reaching for us, dragging our souls into unfathomable depths. Just as I thought we were. Escaping, a bone-chilling voice slithered into my ear, "You think you can save her? You can only save yourself." I felt a sudden nausea churn in my stomach as the shadows began to merge into their own grotesque forms, filling the hall with vile apparitions of my past, the faces of my long-lost loved ones twisted with unearthly rage, their mouths open in silent screams, extending skeletal hands toward me. "Let go of her. Let her be free." I cried wildly, choking back the agony rising in my throat. In that moment of uncertainty, the room erupted with a blinding light, an ethereal glow radiating from my daughter, her tiny frame illuminated as if she were the hope born from the remnants of despair. But just as swiftly, a darkness coiled around her, a long serpent's tail weaving through the light, threatening to snuff it out like a candle flame. An icy fear gripped my heart as I realized that the keeper had prevailed. "No!" I roared, lunging forward in a final act of desperation. "You will not take her." And then, the shadows closed in, surging toward my daughter as I felt everything around me dissolve into chaos, ripping apart the fabric of reality. With a spine-chilling laugh, the keeper whispered, "Embrace the darkness, or lose everything." And just like that, in a vortex of despair and pulsing shadows, I was hurled into oblivion, left with a single chilling thought: was it too late to reclaim both our souls? Then, in the very depths of my core, a chilling whisper echoed back, a sound so haunting, so familiar, it shook me to my foundation. "Mommy, where are you?" I turned to see my daughter's luminous face slipping away, swallowed by a vortex of shadow, darkness closing in on her like jaws of death. The darkness screamed, a chorus of torment that spiraled around me like a cyclone, disorienting my senses. My daughter's luminescence flickered, a dying star struggling against the encroaching void. Every desperate heartbeat echoed in my ears, a morose hymn to impending loss. I felt the cold fingers of the keeper weaving their way through my mind, wrapping my thoughts in chains as it whispered a futility. "Mommy! I can't hold on." Her voice was shrinking, a mere echo caught in the abyss. I could see the shadows writhing and pulsating, feasting on the essence of joy she had once radiated. It was a feast I had unwittingly invited. Each moment of doubt a course served at the table of despair. Determined, I plunged forward into the tumult of shadows. I could practically smell the stagnant malevolence curling in the air, a suffocating weight pressing against my lungs. With every step, the keeper erupted into laughter, a sound that pierced through the chaos, each note more sinister than the last. "You dare challenge me? The darkness breathes within you, and your refusal to accept it is your own undoing." Taking a deep breath, I refused to buckle, reaching through the shadows to find her. Suddenly, flickers of memory burst above us like stars struggling to shine, echoes of laughter from sunlit days, moments of safety tucked away in forgotten corners of my heart. Every recollection flared brightly against the insatiable dark, reminding me of the fierce love swelling inside of me, a shield against the despair. "Fight it, sweetheart. Remember the sunlight." I shouted, voice raw and hoarse as I fought against the despair pressing down like iron chains. I could feel energy crackling between us, the light battling against the shadows as I grasped for her with every ounce of will. The shadows wrenched and twisted around us, the faces of forgotten ones peering through the tendrils with hollowed eyes, figures long buried, lost to memory, and now twisted into grotesque mockeries. "You abandoned us, and now we demand justice." They shrieked, their voices a cacophony of anger. "No!" I screamed, horrified as I stumbled backward, fighting the surge of dread that clawed at my throat. "No more. I won to let you take her." It was a battle beyond strength now. It was will, heart, and soul in a precarious race against time. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, revealing a flicker of movement. Something was coming from within the darkness itself. At first, I squinted, straining my eyes to make sense of the confusion. Then, a shimmer of fingers broke through, pale and delicate, followed by a small figure cloaked in darkness. "Are you lost, sweetheart?" The figure crooned, its voice unnaturally soothing, yet twisted in a way that was deeply wrong. "I can help you find her. All you have to do is share your light with me." I recognized the voice. It belonged to a girl I had lost long ago, a memory buried deep beneath layers of fear and shame. Her innocent face, now marred by a sinister grin, sent a chill racing down my spine. "No!" I shouted, shaking my head furiously, denial coursing through my veins. It was a melody that was supposed to comfort, but in her lips it sounded dreadful and warped. "But we could play again," she insisted, the shadows swirling around her like a dark halo, beckoning me into their depths. "You remember the games we played, don't you? We had so much fun together." A rush of warmth surrounded me, wrapping me in nostalgia that twisted into something grotesquely inviting. My daughter. I've got to save her. I pressed forward through the shadowy tendrils, every step a defiance against the past that would gladly consume me. Know that I can offer more than just memories, the girl murmured as shadows sliced through the air, pulling at my ankles like chains, binding me to the floor. All you have to do is let go of her. I can assure you, she won't suffer. But you must embrace the darkness. I felt my heart flutter, a visceral clash between the tendrils of despair around my daughter and my own buried regrets. Was I strong enough to shatter the remnants of my past? My real daughter shone like an ember, but this echo of the past beckoned with promises that felt eerily close to the truth. The shadows stilled, holding their breath as the girl's silent plea wrapped around my mind. I felt the weight of choice pressing against my soul, and time seemed to stretch, the air thick with uncertainty, a heartbeat trapped in limbo. I opened my mouth to respond, but the words twisted in my throat. Suddenly, my daughter's voice broke through the silence, trembling with unbridled fear and desperation. Mommy! Don't let her take you. I need you. But with those words, the darkness surged once more, and I could see something monstrous flickering just beyond the edges of shadows. A figure, rippling with anguish, started to merge from the void. The keeper's unmistakable laughter filled the air, echoing my thoughts. You have a choice. Embrace the darkness with her, or let her slip away forever. Torn between salvation and looming despair, I felt my very core fracture as the darkness writhed hungrily around us, inching closer and closer, closing the gap between freedom and entrapment, illuminating the truth that this was not merely a battle for my daughter's life but for my very soul. And then, just as the shadows weaved tighter, I locked eyes with the monstrous figure taking shape, a reflection of my own twisted, forgotten self, waiting eagerly to join the chaos. Mommy! The terror in my daughter's voice pierced through the haze of fright, turning my blood to ice. Time stopped, suspended in the moment before the chasm of shadows opened wide, pulling me in with a chilling force, and I screamed, "No!" But the void answered back with a deafening silence, and the monstrous reflection crept closer, its sinister smile disturbing the air, revealing a single horrific truth. "You don't even know which way to turn," it whispered, the shadows embracing it like a mother, "and now you're out of time. I thought leaving the abyss of shadows would grant me solace, but peace is a fickle illusion in the keeper's realm." I blinked, and suddenly I was back in that insufferable basement, the stale air clinging to my skin like a shroud. My surroundings, though unchanged, felt thicker, suffocating me with a sudden dread. What twisted horror had I unleashed? The basement's walls seemed to pulse as if echoing my own frantic heartbeat. Questions raced through my mind as the whispers began again, rising crescendo-like, promising mayhem and despair. Voices of the damned that once called out for help were now mocking, shrill. "You chose," they teased, their laughter echoing in the recesses of my mind. "Welcome back, Keeper." I recoiled at the title. Keeper. What did it mean? As if to answer my unspoken inquiry, memories surged forward, dramatically unfolding. I gasped as scenes of my life flashed before me, the mundane, the tragic, every painful choice I had ever made. Each moment played out like an insidious puppet show, navigating my mind with a sinister grace. There I was haunting my own memories, clinging to regrets, a marionette on strings woven from my choices. "Save them!" I shouted, desperate for redemption, for my daughter. "I can fix this." "Can you?" A voice echoed from the shadows, smooth as silk, but heavy with venom. It stepped forward, taking the silhouette of the figure I had met in the forest, now more grotesque, its form complex and once beautiful but marred by wrongness. "You're not just a keeper, you're one of them, bound to darkness and light, a reflection of every soul lost." I cringed, caught between recognition and revulsion. "You're lying." "I won't believe you." I clenched my fists, fury bubbling. "You're nothing but a specter of this place." "I am not you." "Oh, but aren't you?" It crooned, stepping closer, shadows swirling around its feet, entwining like venomous snakes. "You've always been afraid, just like them." Afraid to embrace your darkness. You turned away from your past and buried it deep. Now it lives in shadows, hungry, relentless, waiting for its keeper. No. I screamed, clutching my head as the memories engulfed me, seeping into my very soul. Flashes of the child I had once been, the innocence lost, echoed in my mind. I had buried the truth, but it was never gone. It festered, gnawed at me until I became a stranger in my own heart. I was afraid of who I'd become, the monster whispering from the shadows. Join us, the figure implored, extending a clawed hand, light and dark swirling within its grasp. Surrender to your truth. With a sudden clarity, I understood. The darkness wasn't just an entity, an abyss. It was me, the facades I'd hidden behind, the fears that consumed me, the choices that had led to isolation. I can't. The air trembled with the strength of my defiance. I won't surrender to you. Suddenly, I was standing at the foot of a staircase spiraling deep into darkness, flickering lights illuminating the path. Choose, the voices chanted, my heart gripped in triumph and terror. I stepped onto the stairs, each creaking sound a haunting reminder that beneath each choice lied consequences, that every flicker of light danced precariously close to shadows, and then I saw her, my daughter, trapped within the web of shadows, a perfect reflection of myself, her eyes wide with terror yet flickering with hope. Mommy! Her desperate cry ignited something deep within me, threading a glimmer of resolve through the tumult. Hold on! I yelled, rushing forward, the keeper's laughter echoing in my ears, urging despair to weave new chains around her. Instinctively, I felt the shadows reaching out, clawing for my flesh, but I pressed on, determined to rewrite the ending. We can break the cycle. The keeper materialized before me, a solid figure now, composed of every tragic story woven through this place. You will lose her if you let go of the darkness, it hissed, a visceral truth tinged with mockery. That in a split second, a memory coursed through me of laughter, a promise made every bedtime, before I lost everything to regret. We can find our way. I dared, finding strength I never knew I possessed. Together. You will not take her from me. The shadows shrieked, enraged, clawing at the air around me, fighting against my light. The keeper lunged, but with a fierce heartbeat, I made my decision. That in that instant of clarity, I reached for the darkness within, the pain, the sorrow, the regrets, but not as a crutch. I embraced it, each horror woven into the tapestry of my existence, a motivation that ignited flames of my own strength. The ache of every moment I had hidden surged forth, melding with a promise to fight. Then, standing between my daughter and this twisted horror, my voice transformed into a resonant declaration: you are not my master. I am the author of my own fate. Light erupted, radiating not just from my hand but from deep within, illuminating a path where shadows once lingered. To my relief, I felt my daughter's grip tightening around mine, her presence invigorating me like a balm to my spirit. As the waves of darkness recoiled, I thrust my hand forward, energy radiating like a heartbeat, summoning a pulsing light that shattered the keeper's twisted grasp. We are stronger together. We will not be lost. The shadows whirled violently around us, trailing like serpents and screaming in agony as I watched the keeper unravel, its essence consumed by its own malicious hunger. The screams of lost souls mingled with the cacophony, swirling, and finally dissipating into the ether. For a moment, the basement fell eerily silent, but then, as I turned toward my daughter, her face illuminated by the victory we had fought for, my breath caught in my throat. Mommy? She whispered, the gleam of expectation shimmering in her eyes. And then it hit me deep and horrifying, like a stone sinking into the depths of my soul. Everything had been just a facade, a cruel twist of fate. She wasn't merely freed, she was merely alive because I had succumbed to my darkness, offering her up to the shadows to be the next keeper. The basement twisted, folding in on itself, my daughter's wide eyes reflecting deep, endless despair. As reality warped, the truth anchored itself in the shadows. Mom! She screamed, and just before I lost her in the impending darkness, I comprehended the gravity of my actions. That I had become the keeper, binding my daughter to the same fate I had fought against. With a haunting realization, I whispered, my child, where are you? The shadows loomed around us, hungry for yet another soul, and I knew I had become the monster I sought to defeat. As everything swallowed into an echo of despair, a final whisper taunted me, a reminder that light and dark are intertwined, and nothing is ever truly gone. "Mommy, save yourself.